Hold
All
on.
right. We're live right now.
All right, awesome.
Sergio's dog. What's the dog's name?
So that's Fozzie. You want to put him outside real quick?
Ozzy's like, dude, don't start this shit without me eating, Dad.
I know. Well, Fozzie's a wild man, so it's So I have a working line German Shepherd. Okay,
Okay.
her name's Harley. She's gonna be 6 this year, and then I have a Belgian Tavarian. His name's hold on. Harley, calm down.
Is that the shepherd?
Couche. No, couche. All right. So, so freaking Harley, man.
It's all
Like
good,
she was
dude.
quiet this whole time, and then now she's doing her thing.
She knows.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, go ahead and let Harley out. So anyway, she just finished eating.
Oh, she
But
just
anyways,
finished eating. Okay, there
yeah,
you
she
go.
just finished eating.
All right,
So
Harley, go run.
for sure. All right.
So it takes a while for people to trickle in. Now, did you share it with your audience, Sergio?
I'm going to right now. So stream to your
Okay.
audience. Add destination. Let's see what's going on here.
We're trying out some newfangled stuff here.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing it as well.
So
yeah, this live stream is pretty cool, man. I've done a bunch of these for a long time, and a lot of the time it's so I can get to know dog trainers better and I learn myself. But we got a lot of people that watch this, and if you guys are watching it as well, go ahead and hit the share button. And I found out from Sergio by my friend Nate Schomer, and he's like, you got to talk to this dude. So I've never met Sergio. I don't know him. And so that's actually what I like. So I can get to know people. Dude, what I miss, man, is that I used to bartend before I was dog training. And I just love to just shoot the shit with people, man. And especially when I can hand them a couple drinks, loosen up the wheels a little bit. And people are fascinating, dude. You know, especially when you know nothing about them and you start stumbling on stuff that they've achieved or what they're all about, you know. And so it's an honor to talk to you, bro.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited about being on here. So same thing, Nate. You know, I was talking to him. I've known Nate since like 2005. You know, so we were in the Marine Corps together, and
Okay.
you know, so I'd say we're pretty close. And you know, he was like, man, he's like, you got to talk to this guy. Same thing. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, for sure. I was like, I'd love to see what's going on. And same thing. You know, I'm always looking for like ways to like connect with people. I actually, you know, here in Corpus where I'm at, I tried getting all the dog trainers together, and you know, just like get to know them. We have like different approaches. You know, we have some guys that are, I guess, force free. You want to say?
Purely
Yeah,
positive, whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah,
crowd.
yeah, for sure. And you know, I got some other guys that you know they're a little more heavy-handed and stuff. But I was just trying to get everyone together, because change ideas. You know, just train our dogs together, and so I'm definitely into that sort of thing.
Well, and there's a lot that we can do and learn from each other by cooperating, and a lot of people get in this competition mindset. And I've noticed too, like I used to be kind of that force free, hippy dippy kind of guy, you know, and until it didn't work, right? Until I encountered competing motivators within the animal, and the animal wanted to do this thing more than he wanted the treat that I had for him. And I just remember having just an epiphany one day. I was like, this is supposed to work. This isn't supposed to happen like this. And the other thing, that the dogs would get manic and I couldn't get a stable dog. Like I would bring out the treats and the dog would just like shuffle through every trick that they knew without me saying anything. And I'm just like, oh man, this isn't like a stable form of communication. There's something up with this. And so then I started branching out. And I honestly, Sergio, I went and I met I let the dog guide my path. And so if I saw a dog trainer, I started going to these conferences, the IACP conference and other dog training conferences. And the IACP is interesting because they allow you to bring the dog to the conference itself, which I thought was a pretty significant act for dog trainers should have their dogs with them, you know. And speak of the devil, I got him here. And Nate's out there working out, dude. So Nate's in the zone right now,
Oh
working
yeah,
out.
he
But
needs to. I noticed he was getting a little small, so he needs to put that
dude,
work
I
on.
need it. I need it. Just so you know, Sergio, like I'm 48 and I'm fatter than I've ever been in my whole life, dude. So just FYI, I've been talking to Nate about it, and you have full permission to, keep me accountable as well. I need to do some resistance training. I need that. So just FYI, everybody in the audience, you can be my accountability partner. I've lost like 20 pounds, so that's good. But I need to get out there and work out. But what I was saying is and Nate, you too, you can be my workout buddy or workout accountability buddy. Is when I see these dogs and I'm like, man, what are you doing? Because your dog is amazing. And when I go to these conferences, I also went to the thing does automatic. I went to the conferences where it's purely positive, force-free conferences, and they didn't allow dogs. And I thought that was kind of telling as well. It's like, why, we're all dog trainers. We should have our dogs with us. It's kind of the proof that our philosophy holds water. And so interesting thing about me. Before I start getting down into the rabbit hole, I wanted you to introduce yourself. Tell everybody, you said you're in Corpus Christi, Texas. Why don't you give everybody a quick introduction, Sergio, about who you are and what you're all about?
All right, absolutely, yeah. So, um, right there, my dogs. I got 4 dogs. Just real quick, I'll go over it. So I got she's gonna be 6 this year. Working line German Shepherd. That actually Nate gave me. Her name is Harley. And then I have 2 Belgian Tavarians. That's one of them right there. His name's Teddy. He's going to be 4 in middle of March. And then I have Fozzie, who just went outside, and he turned a year in November. And then, so this next one, I'm probably going to catch some flack about. All right, I have a poodle mix.
Okay.
All right, it's not a doodle, it's a poodle mix. All right. So that wasn't my idea. I was outside working my dogs. My friend showed up, got the doodle off the truck, and I was like, what's going on? And my wife's like, oh, we got a doodle. I was like, oh, great. So,
And a doodle.
yeah, I know, right?
How old is the doodle now?
Hold on one second. All right, so
There
just
we go.
so
Of course. And this is, do you know what else, dude? Is that my clients, I have to remind them because they think that when I come home that my dogs are all perfect because I'm a dog trainer. It's like, no, man, I deal with the same shit you deal with. Just that now I have a line of communication open with my dogs that I can actually tell them what's expected of them. So, yeah, no worries.
all right, cool. Yeah, so anyways, I'm just gonna let him out. He just finished eating. But yeah, so come here, Teddy.
Teddy's your, oh, he hit something. Your camera went off.
All right, yeah. So couche.
You're welcome. Right. If you need to get up and let him out, that's cool too.
No, he's good now. He wanted to come hang out with Dad. So he'll be fine. Now, anyways, going back to a little bit about me. So yeah, I'm in South Texas. Started dog training professionally just a few years ago, actually in like 2020. And I who is that now? Anyways, God, this is not a great look. But anyways, you know what? If you're a dog trainer, you know the deal. Like dogs are dogs. They're gonna respond the way they respond. Barking, it's kind of like what they do, right?
Yep.
And I don't put bark collars on my dogs. Um,
And dude, I've
I,
had many of these live streams where my dogs have just lost their shit going. I mean, either a delivery driver will show up or whatever, you know. So, and if you're in the dog industry and you can't deal with some barking dogs, then I don't know what to tell you, man. So
for sure.
it's all good, dude. It's not a
Yeah.
bad look at all. So
And so
2020 started dog training.
yeah, so started dog training profession. I actually learned how to dog train from Nate Schomer. And so the way
Okay.
that worked out was so I retired from the Marine Corps and I needed a service animal. Okay, and Nate was working with camis and canines at the time. All right, so he contacts me. He's like, "Hey, I know you're looking for a service animal. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get you one." I was like, "Oh, that's super cool." And he's like, "And I'll do the training." I was like, "Great, this is awesome." All right. And so at the time, I had no idea how long it took to train a service animal. I thought it was just like cool, a couple weeks, like whatever the case may be. And obviously that's not the case. Um, and so we're going through the process, and he's training my dog for me. And he actually contacted me, and he was like, "Hey, this dog's not working out. You know, she's just we're gonna go ahead and like roll her out of the program. We'll get you a nice lab or something." Um, hey, couche. And so I was like, no. I said, I we don't get to pick our kids. I don't think we get to pick our dogs. Like we'll make it work, okay? And so at that point, I was like, and by the way, I was like, I'm ready for my dog, right? So now my dog Harley, she was probably about 8 months. So he's like, all right, cool. He's like, you got to come over, stay with me. We're gonna do a little handlers course for you. We're gonna get you like squared away, teach you what you need to do, right? So for a couple weeks, cool. So I go up. He was living in California at the time, and I go stay with him, and we're working like literally. We wake up in the morning, we work dogs, do that sort of thing. He's showing me what to do, how to handle her, all that good stuff. And I remember distinctly one day we were working. He's like, man, he's like, you're catching on so quick. Like you're really good at this. He's like, you should be a dog trainer, right? And he kind of chuckles, and I laugh, and then I was like, hey, shit, like why not? I'm like, teach me how to train dogs, right?
What were
And
you doing
so
at the time? What were you doing at the
um,
time for a living?
I had just retired from the Marine Corps, and I was working as a teacher for at the NJROTC program, so in a high school. So I
Okay.
was teaching, that, and it was cool. But once again, we uh, we did our thing, right? And he was like, "Yeah, all right." And so the way it went was, we worked really hard those first couple weeks together. And then I would send him videos of me like training dogs. I would train any and every dog I could get a hold of, like for free, no big deal. He would send me back long videos, tell me how terrible I was at it. He was like, dude, you suck. Like, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it was
One
just,
Marine to the other.
yeah, for sure, right? Just being very blunt with me, right? And talking about how terrible I was. And I just kept at it. He gave me like required reading. I went through the required reading, that sort of thing. And I just worked with him constantly. And we go through one day, and he essentially gave me an evaluation through video. And he was like, "All right, you're good as far as like what you're doing and what you're teaching." And then we talk about concepts all the time. So I mean, he is a mentor to me. I'm talking to him weekly. Like, in fact, this week it's just Monday, but I've already talked to him twice today. It's that sort of thing. And we talk dog a lot. And, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this concept? Um, Especially with like what's going on in the industry right now, where there's a lot of different like approaches that people are using.
Yep.
And they're just like, in my opinion, just like renaming stuff that we already know, right? But they
Yep.
put their own spin on it, and it's like, cool, it's something new. It's like, no, you're just talking about operant conditioning, bro. Like, it's the same thing. But anyway, so we went through and we did that, and yeah, I that's how I started learning how to dog train. And even now, you know, I've gone up to Jean-Luc and Bethany from PH Dogs. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have not,
Yeah,
but I would love to. The one thing about doing these talks, man, is that we find out how broad the dog world is, and it's awesome, dude. You know, and I tell people, I mean, I've been so fortunate that I've been invited on to television shows. I've trained with some celebrities, and and I find out that we're all the same, man. We're all just people, and the thing is that we have in common is our love for dogs. And the dogs are unique because they reach into every corner of the human existence, right? And so, I mean, I would love to know them, and even maybe love to chat with them too.
yeah, for
I
sure.
worked you like a new hat.
Yeah, for sure. He did. He did for sure. So what he's talking about is like, so we were both drill instructors together, right? And
Okay.
so um when new drill instructors come on board, right, they're called new hats, right? And
Oh, I
man,
see.
let me tell you, they get worked hard. I've
As
I've
they should.
never worked so hard in my life. In fact, so I started my first platoon. I weighed 205 pounds. Okay. And about 17 training days into it. So that's probably, I don't know, 25 days, 26 days, because you have some forming days and, some holidays in there. I was down to 155.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Not eating, not drinking, not sleeping. Like it was absolutely the most miserable and wonderful thing I've ever done in my life. So that's what he's talking about, working me as a new hat. Um, but yeah, so like going back to Jean Luc and Bethany real quick. So I talked to them a lot. I asked them a lot of questions. You know, I take some private lessons from Bethany from time to time, so I can get better and better understand concepts and stuff. And they're real big in French ring. So in fact, like they're going to selectives here in a couple weeks, I think, a week or two. And so that's kind of the basis of like the people I learned from directly. Oh,
Cool,
there they
man.
are.
Here, yep. Here, yeah. I could share my screen, so anytime that we'll put up stuff that's relevant. Cool, man. PHdogs.com. You guys, shout out. I'll put a link in the comments down below as well, and then I'll put a link to your website too,
Cool.
um, as well. Here, let me do this. So when you started, I mean, well, first off, my favorite age of a dog is about what Harley is now, 5 to 6 years of age,
Okay.
right? And I tell people that just because we're out of adolescence, and about 3 or 4 people don't realize it. Like a dog is in the adolescent mindset until about 3 years of age, and then they
Mhm.
start getting into a little bit more mature formation cognitively, and as well as also with their wants and needs. And then about 5 or 6, that's my favorite. And then 7, 8, 9, I started to get old, dude. And so right now is that little window that is my favorite age of a dog. And did you have dogs growing up at all, Sergio?
So not really. So here in South Texas, like the way that people look at dogs, specifically where I'm at in Corpus, and they look at them like dogs. You know what I mean? And it's kind of weird, but like I
Yeah,
hope you understand. Like, and
totally.
so it wasn't a thing. I asked for a dog. They gave me a dog. I remember it was like this cute little Australian Shepherd. It was great. I was so excited. Couldn't have it in the house, right? And so it was cold outside, and so we put him in the garage, and he chewed through the door, right? So he had to go. You know,
Yep,
um,
that was it.
so, yeah, that was it. And so the first dog I had is actually an American Cocker Spaniel that I got when I was stationed in Japan. And the guy was great. He was phenomenal. He just passed away last year at 14, and I mean he was amazing. And with him, all I did was I think we taught him how to sit. I didn't know what was going on with dogs. But that was
Yeah.
like my first real introduction. I had him and a King Charles Cavalier.
Okay.
So those were my two first pups that I actually have. The King Charles is still alive. He's doing his thing still. And then the next dog I got was Harley.
Well, and I mean, that's like going from a little Toyota Corolla to a Ferrari, dude. Like, or I mean,
Sure.
a working line German Shepherd. I mean, Belgian Malinois, Belgian Tiberian that you have. I mean, those are all working dogs, and they demand. I mean, I call them high maintenance dogs, right? Where a Cocker and a King Charles, those are what I call push button dogs. Like, if you just push button and forget about it. Like they're usually just really good dogs. I mean, and as a dog trainer, we don't get the really good dogs. We get the dogs that have some issues. And what you were saying too about seeing all these turmoil in the dog industry, um, and people kind of renaming stuff. Like it is all the same, but it is. I look at it like a bouquet of flowers, man. We could all have the same flowers, but if we arrange it differently, it's totally different, right? And so some people just have a way of putting stuff together that makes sense for a certain type of person, and other people have the other, or certain type of sport or certain type of dog. And so I'm a consummate learner. I am always reading. I'm always going to seminars, going to conferences. I went to the NAPOPO silver and gold school. I was a gold multiplicator for a while, so I was teaching other people the system as well. And I encourage people to learn as much as they can, but don't get stuck, man, because once you're stuck, you're dead in the water, dude. Like people think that they know it all, or they want to remain in this one camp, and pretty soon you're going to encounter a dog that isn't going to fall into the to the realm of
Right.
learning in that particular system.
For
And so
sure.
it's always good to have. I want to take. They call it balance training, but I want to say uh, eclectic training because you need an eclectic knowledge base to draw from for every case that you come about. So
For sure. Like, the training approach for each dog is going to be different, right? So we have our set systems that we like to use, but the reality is what I do for even. So I got Teddy and Fozzie. I got them both from Bethany and Jean Luc, right? Because they breed Maus and Turves and Newfoundlands now, interestingly enough. But I got Teddy and Fozzie from them, and the way I train them is different, right? Just their personality, right? You got to work with a dog in front of you. And so when I was talking about, like, people are renaming stuff and this and that, I'm really talking about how, a lot of times we take this like system, and I feel like some people are doing it just for like the marketing purposes. Like I
trying to
understand,
make it their own.
right? I understand, like, taking something, figuring out a new way as far as application, right? You take that concept, you change it a little bit, right? You get a new way to apply it to a dog, and you make progress, right? That's the way progress is made. Any industry, any profession. But I've been reading some things, and I'm just like, dude, like that's really not that new. Like it's the same thing, and
Or it's
I don't.
unrealistic, dude. Like that's the other thing that I've learned is like some of this stuff. Like my clients, they want something that's going to affect them, and just like, I mean, when you're working with service dogs, that's a little different. And so I just had a service dog evaluation today, and once I told her the expectations of a service dog and what training that requires, she was like, "Well, maybe I don't want a service dog," right?
Yeah, she want an ECA after that, right? Or ESA, right?
Yep, exactly, dude. That's exactly. And I said, look, that's what I would lean towards because the standards aren't as high with the ESA. What you're talking about, the need of this dog can be required or can be fulfilled with proper just obedience training. Like this dog will emotionally fulfill you, and still with good obedience, and then the dog can go with you. It's just that it's not going to be to the level of a service dog where the dog's accessibility is everywhere. But you're not going to have any problems flying with the dog. You're not going to have any problems with living with the dog if you move. So that's more where we went to. But I think it's on it. I think it's obligation as professionals to give people the truth. And sometimes the truth can be brutal, right? Um, and I think that that's what happens when I hear some of these methodologies. I'm like, dude, how is that achievable? And the more that you learn, how many repetitions this is going to take for this dog to really know it on a reflexive level, it's unobtainable. We're talking years of training when my clients have a couple months and they want to see change, and it's my professional and my moral obligation to provide that to them. And first and foremost, I have to be honest.
Yeah, so 100%. A lot of times people come in, they want to hear what they want to hear, right? And you're like, look, like this is the reality of the situation. This is what it's going to take to get your dog there. And yeah, they'll be like, oh no, that's not what we're looking for. Well, then it kind of is what it is. But going into saying you know certain methodologies and the amount of repetitions it takes for to achieve that type of behavior or that skill set is much different, right? So like I'll just call it out, right? Like we were talking about earlier, self-rewarding behaviors, right? What I have just is not it's not as important, right? It doesn't hold as much value as that dog chasing that squirrel, right? So there's just the amount of repetitions and the amount of time that I would have to put into, you know, rewarding and rewarding and rewarding. Like I may not even ever get there because I'm going to give out before the dog does.
Yeah,
You
or
know
the
what I mean?
dog's stomach will be full, right?
Right, for
If
sure.
all we have is treats and the dog's stomach is full, now what? Now what are we going to do, right?
Sure.
And there are real world consequences that this dog can experience, such as chasing a car,
Hmm.
where we need to stop this immediately because I don't want that car. I rather correct the dog than have that car correct that dog, right?
100%.
And so we have to weigh the costs and benefits, but we also have to look at it through the lens of clarity and honesty, and do what it takes, but also as firm as we need, but as little. I don't know. My brain is like as much as we need, but as little as we need to meet that threshold where it's meaningful to the dog, but not go overboard, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes I've
So
seen that with.
yeah, 100%. So what I always tell the families I work with, I'm like, look, you know, because I guess you would classify me as a balance trainer, right? I'm like, when we do a correction, all right, there's a couple like stipulations I personally have before I apply correction. All right. So one, dangerous and destructive behavior automatically gets a correction, right? As long as it's not based in fear. Okay, so boom, they're gonna get that. The next two is one, I make sure that the dog has proof the behavior that I'm trying to correct them for. They've demonstrated to me that they understand what's being asked, right? And the expectation is reasonable, right? So for instance, if they provide me a behavior that I asked for and they only provide it to me in the house, and I go over to a tennis court where there's balls getting hit all over the place, there's not a reasonable expectation that the dog's going to be able to perform the same type of behavior because of the environment,
Yes.
right? In that case, I wouldn't apply positive punishment. I would just probably use some negative reinforcement in the system. I'd also probably bring in some high value treats, things like that. But anyways, so they proof the behavior, and then finally, I tell the owners and the families, I'm like, look, we start off super conservatively because I don't want to have to correct my dog at a level at any time. Like I want them to respond to the smallest correction as possible. So
Yeah.
if all it takes is for me to go no and like boop and that's it, cool, great, awesome. Now, is that realistic for all dogs and all breeds of dogs? No.
Nope.
But I say, hey, we're going to start off conservatively and we're going to work our way up. Because you start off too high, like where do you have to go? You
Well,
know?
not only that, but then you destroy any trust that you built up with that dog too. Like if you come down with a hammer, and I try to put it into analogies where people can understand. With hey Stephanie, so everybody's joining us here. Love you, Stephanie. Where you're building a friendship, right? And then all of a sudden your friend loses his temper and throws a freaking right hook at you, and you don't trust that guy, or they just become dysregulated. Like you want somebody that is knowledgeable of their own emotional state, right? And
For sure.
when we start to go, and especially when I get a new dog, I try to have the first couple days at least where it's just me and the dog hanging,
Mhm.
taking out on a walk, pulling me on the leash, dude. I don't care. Like let's just get to know each other a little bit, and so we essentially prepare the dog for the inevitable correction that will come down the road. But if we start out at a high level, absolutely, man, you can damage the relationship that you have with that animal, as well as just go overboard with the animal. Where I say this a lot of times with my male clients. With my female clients, I'm like, come on, get in there. Like, I know
Mhm.
you got it in you, to do meaningful correction. But for my male clients, I'm like, dude, he got it. Chill, you
Yeah, for
know,
sure.
like, and so
And I
back it up.
honestly, I have the customers or the clients. I have them practice, so I'll hold the leash in one hand, and I'll be like, "All right, let's go. Do a correction. What's that feel like? Cool. Apply leash pressure. What's that feel like? Do a correction." Right, and so I'll walk them through it because they all think initially, just like you said, especially the male clients, they think they need to be like, right, like they gotta, like, no, dude, it's not necessarily there to, people want to say like what's to punish them, right? So my perspective is that I'm there to disrupt the behavior and provide a bit of discomfort in order to, correct a behavior, right? But it doesn't necessarily need to like hurt them, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it just needs to be meaningful.
Right.
It needs to get their attention, and once we've got their attention, then it's like, "Hey, good job," and always get it to the other side of being able to praise, get into the positive reinforcement. I love positive reinforcement. It's just
Hmm.
that that's not the only tool in my tool bag.
Right, for sure. And it's about like helping shaping like decision making, right? So even us, right? So I got 5 kids, right? So raising them, right? I have to shape good decision making. I can't just like reward, reward, reward. They have to understand that they have a direct effect on the things that happen to them, right? So the choices they make bring them certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can mess around with kids. Nate had a genius one where he had his daughter, and his daughter, I think it was a smoothie or something like that, and his daughter was like, "No," and then he just asked her, "Do you want me to feed it to you, or do you want to feed it to yourself?" She's like, "I want to feed it to myself," right? And so limiting choices, um, and then also, going back to the environment too, like where they're comfortable at, right? And so the dog, often when I have my classes, I ask people, whose dog in here knows how to sit, and most of them raise their hand. Yeah, right here. I was like, show me. And so they go, sit, sit. Like they sit.
Right.
And then I get to explain generalization. Like,
Right.
look, your dog sits every single time in your living room because they've formed a comfort zone there. But we need to take them out to different areas, just like that tennis court with a bunch of balls bouncing around, a bunch of people. And we need to do the same commands in that area to help them generalize and to help to proof the concepts that we're trying to introduce the dog. Like the same rules apply out here as they do in the house. And until that dog starts to do it on a pretty um, pretty consistent manner, then we just have to guide them to that.
Right, for sure. Yeah. So, that's another thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people are, at least in this area, right? They're like, "Oh, well, you know, can't you just like put the collar on them?" And they're talking about the e-collar, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I said, you could. I'm like, some dog trainers do. I said, but me personally, my personal approach to using an e-collar is I train my dog first. I make sure that they are trained, they understand the concepts, right? I understand that they understand leash pressure. I expect for the dog to understand where the e-collar on the correction or the stem is coming from, and that the owner be able to do it. So I'm like, so it's a long process for me. I know some people, and some franchises, they'll put that e-collar on them on day one, and they'll go to town. But it's just one of those things. It's like we got to help these dogs along. They have to understand what is being expected of them. You
Yeah,
know.
the lines of communication are open, and the collar becomes another layer on top
Hmm.
of that. Like it still means the same thing, but now I can talk to you over here. I can talk to you over here.
Sure.
Um, Now, when you first got Harley, let's back up to where when you and Nate and you very first started working with dogs.
Hmm.
What was probably the biggest takeaways that you learned? Was it like timing? Was it consistency? Was it what was something that kind of blew your mind at the very beginning as a new dog trainer?
Right. So I think that what really stood out to me, or and like I really didn't understand, was once again the timing for the rewards. Right. So my timing was absolutely horrendous. Right. And I feel like I still struggle with it a little bit, but it was terrible. And my dog wouldn't perform. Right. At least not perform the way I expected. And I'd get the feedback from Nate, and he would tell me and explain things to me. So I think timing and coupled with the relationship development, right? I didn't really understand that. I thought, oh, look, if I just do this, this, and this, like my dog's going to be good, and that's it, right? But it's more than that, right? And understanding that, dogs, they're not robots. Okay. We're not going to just run them through a system and they're going to like perform exactly as expected every time. So I think that was like pretty much the two biggest things that as a new dog trainer and learning how to dog train um, stuck out to me, right? Because at that point, I just had my Cocker Spaniel and my King Charles, right? So I was just like, oh, like if I just do A, B, and C, like cool, like should be good, but it's like,
Well, it's like what? Sorry.
oh, it's okay. I said, so it's like, just motivation, right? So a, a dog, right, may know how to do something, but if they're not motivated to do it, they're just not going to do it, right? Just like me, right? My wife comes in and says, hey, go cut the grass. Well, just because I don't go cut the grass doesn't mean I don't know how to cut the grass. It means I'm just not motivated to, right? So I think that that's where that relationship comes in, right? So your dog wanting to engage with you, wanting to like have fun with you essentially, and that obedience work or protection or agility, whatever you're working, becomes part of that and that the relationship, right? So for instance, like my dogs, um I use prong collars sometimes depending on what skills I'm working, right?
Yep.
um my dog gets super excited when I get the prong collar out. Like he's happy. He's like, yes, me and dad are gonna go have a good time. Like it's funny because I'll get it out, he'll pop into the center position, and he's like, he can't contain himself. Right. So once again, just one of those things where, if all I did was just follow the system, the enthusiasm might not be there. Right.
Yep.
So
Well, and I also like, for instance, I had a dog that just went home today, and they wanted me to do. I did a board and train with this dog a long time ago, and when the dog came to me, we worked with him on the e-collar. At first, I did some basic understanding of foundation work, and then we did the e-collar. He was doing fantastic. Then I put the e-collar on him, and the dog's sitting there like shaking, and I'm like, "Uh oh, we got a problem here." So I talked to the client and I'm like, look, this dog, let me, I kind of guessed what they were doing. They were only putting the e-collar on the dog when he was bad.
of course.
Right. And then I'm like, look, this dog, I want this dog to wear this e-collar and not even be on for a while. I want this dog to just kind of get conditioned to wearing this and not thinking that something bad is coming down the pipeline. The other thing is I want you to dial it down. I don't want to always use it as an aversive. I don't always want to use it as a correction. I want to start using it as some negative reinforcement, some just cues that you're coming with us. And so we're going to be working on that. And so what happens is that if we inadvertently misuse these tools, we can send a mixed message to that dog. And so people think that um, they have a misconception a lot of times, especially of that dang e-collar. And I don't e-collar all my dogs. In fact, I do. All my dogs are e-collar trained, but I'd use it as a tool, as a communication tool. Like this is a good thing. And that's what I told him. I said when you grab that e-collar, I want that dog running to you excited,
Right.
knowing that they're going to be they're going with you. It's engagement time, um, and that it's something that is a good thing, and it's going to take a little while. And the other thing is that when you put it on him and he starts shaking, don't soothe him. Let him kind of just get over it, but don't use it. Just let him wear it, let him get used to it, and let's start the conversation. Let's flip the script a little bit on what this dog believes that this tool represents. And it happens. It's something that people will do, and just like the timing. Were you not saying like giving the dog yes and a treat, or what was? And Nate's just like, dude, mark that behavior, or like he's
Right. So
doing.
I was marking behaviors late. Okay. And I was also pairing a lot,
Okay,
you
in what
know.
way?
So I would say the marker, and I would move my hand to reward at the exact same time. Right. And so I thought I was like, conditioning the marker and things like that. And, it's just, I wasn't. So I had to work on that. Or I would mark way too late. So for instance, we'll just take like a simple sit, right? So I asked the dog to sit, do my physical cue. The dog drops his bottom, and then, yes, like I was just like really slow with it, or I was too fast, right? The dog hasn't even completed the skill, and I was marking. So, but I got a little bit better at it.
Yeah,
Um,
practice makes perfect, and this is what's so valuable about having a mentor, having eyes on you, videotaping what you're doing, mixing it up, um, having a mirror in your training center or wherever you train, so you can watch yourself. And but this is why it's important to get into a network of dog trainers. This is why it's important to train with other people. And so, I mean, I remember when I was saying, or I would release my dog, it was a click and release, and I would bow my head. I'd be like, yes,
mhm,
yes. And I never knew I did that until another trainer comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, I don't know. Do you know that you bow your head every time you say yes? And I'm like, I do. And
right.
so having other eyes on you is important. And then the relationship, I think that we're still at the infancy stages of understanding the relationship and the importance of that. Rapport is power. Rapport is power. As a Marine, you want people in your platoon that are going to be ready to fight, but more importantly, the that they're going to be ready to fight for each other, right? And there's some type of camaraderie that needs to be present, especially in that situation because of going to war. And I speak as somebody that's not a veteran, so I can only imagine, and I've worked with plenty of veterans, that it would be something similar to of good solid relationship skills needed for the Marines there. Do you know Kashi?
I don't.
Kashi is the man, dude. He's in India, in Mumbai, India, and you should see the shit that he does with his dogs. It's mind blowing, and just the way that he thinks outside the box. And he's a Supreme Court lawyer in India, so he does this as a
Ooh,
passion. And he asked, "Would you want the e-collar recall as a default behavior?" I do. I
okay.
do. I like the dog as soon as a dog, and actually that's one of the lessons that I will start working with them on, because of the recall of this dog. Of course, that's one of the first things that they wanted me to work on is his recall. And so I put on the e-collar, and once he started shaking, I was like, okay, cool. This is a different picture than I saw before. But yeah, I want my dog to look to me whenever that e-collar stim is felt. Do you agree?
I mean, that's definitely one way to do it. So there's a couple different things that I do with the e-collar, depending on what, um, one, how the dog responds to it, and then kind of the ability of the owner, right? So for instance, um, my dogs, they'll respond to a tone, right?
Yes.
So,
Nate and I have
um,
been talking about that too.
right, and so, yeah, so I know Nate's gotten real big into using the e-collar technologies, the tone, but so I have a Dogtra, right? So now the tone means recall, right?
Okay.
So I'll hit the tone, they'll come to me, right? No different than if I said come, um, and it's pretty reliable,
Now, if they didn't come to you, then we have other options, right? Then we can
right?
stim,
For sure. Right.
right?
So
So
yeah, so for a while I was using vibrate as because I had tone, vibrate, and stem. I was using vibrate as my negative reinforcement, so they understood that that was leash pressure. And then I used my stem for corrections, right? So I
okay,
was doing that for a little bit. Most recently, I've been working the stem on a low level and using that as negative reinforcement, right? So I'll use tapping, right? So for different things, just kind of depends on the dog. I had a dog recently that wasn't responding very well to a lot of things. I mean, just even like traditional leash pressure, where we just push steady pressure, and they come, they just really wasn't responding very well. And so then I tried tapping with the collar and just the leash, and they responded really well to that. So I built that, built that, built that, built that. Okay, very comfortable. Then I started pairing it with an e-collar, and I think we have her at a 7 on e-collar technologies
okay,
on a on an educator. Um, and so the way we're working it right now is we'll give the command, and it'll be tap 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 until she starts moving to perform the command. Once she starts moving to perform the skill or the task asked, the tapping stops. You
negative
know,
reinforcement.
yep. And so that's how I'm essentially working it right now. I just still got to try out the tone on the educators where they'll beep for a little bit and then it turns into the stem. I think Nate talks a lot about that right now, but I haven't tried it personally.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about exploring different usages of this stuff, right? And I have dog, and knowing that some dogs are like sometimes that vibration to some of these dogs can be an aversive. They shut down. And I've had Nate, and Nate and I have talked about. I think it's on my Patreon page where Nate and I kind of go into that tone marker. Um, and then and then Bo Harrison, he works primarily with the vibration on the e-collar, and I had a live stream with him. We got into that as well. But I also like having the option of having the stim in case I need to do an aversive and the dog's going into something that you said is dangerous. Um, or trying to eat something that they shouldn't or something like that, that I have that option. Um, and then also the low level stim is what I use, and I use constant a lot of times too. And then I also have the ascending as well, so it can be, and that's what I do with my recall. Is I will do call the dog, tap, tap, hold, right. And so if the dog doesn't come back, so the dog knows to avoid the hold that they need to shoot back to me. Kashi asks if you use vibration as negative reinforcement, the dog keeps blowing off the recall at the when you release it, the stage of vibration is not really a negative reinforcement, just an option. Would you agree? So if you use a vibration as a or negative reinforcement, the dog keeps blowing it off as a recall. Yeah. I mean, some dogs will. I agree because then you have the other option of using the stim as well. I mean, some dogs come right back to you. Some dogs, and it's also knowing how to incrementally introduce this to that dog. Like, don't let them go way out. Let them stay right by you, call them back to you. This is what this means. This is what this means. This is what this means. And then absolutely, I can um, not
Yeah,
use the vibration.
right. So when I use the vibration as negative reinforcement, I spend a lot of time pairing that with my leash pressure.
Yep.
Like, so I spend like tons and tons of time doing that. And then, like you said, I do start off incrementally, right? Like, I'm not going to go to a football field and try and recall my dog and expect that like to be like successful, right? So the first thing, we start off short distances, and I usually start off where it's linear, right? So the dog can see me directly and they're coming to me, right? Before I try and do like a recall where they're maybe off to the right or the left, or maybe I'm behind them. So I start off in line of sight.
Yep,
Now,
line.
yep. And if the pup doesn't respond to me, so if I say come, I apply the leash pressure, right, and they can hear me, um, they don't respond. Then at that point, I would say no. I'd do a stem, and then I would recall them again, and then I'd apply the leash pressure. And I've had success with that.
Yep. Andy says, just because a dog ignores a warning doesn't mean it isn't negative reinforcement. Yep, I agree. I mean, it's also the negative reinforcement is that it goes away to reinforce the behavior,
Mm,
right? And so that's the negative part of negative reinforcement. So you started getting your hands on dogs.
hmm
So you started getting some schooling from Nate, started to do dogs for free.
yeah,
And how would you approach people? How did you find people? And when you were starting, we have a lot of new trainers that watch these live streams.
for sure.
Um, how did you get your first clients, Sergio?
So first it was just like, I'd see a dog, and honestly they'd see Harley with me, because Harley would be like, "Oh, your dog's so great, blah blah blah," and then I would just kick up the conversation there. I'd be like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, I'm learning how to train dogs." I said, "If you want," I said, "I can work with your dog," you know,
Love it.
and they're like, "Oh, well, how much?" I said, "Well, nothing right now." I said, I'm getting practice, and they'd bring them over, and like I'd have tons and tons of dogs coming in and out of my house, all sorts of stuff, and it was the basics of what people were looking for: no jumping on people, walking nicely on the leash, things like that. And then obviously sit stays, down stays, and then I'd be like, oh well, I'm going to teach like the basic stuff that I always teach are the healing. I teach come when called, the different types of sit down, stand, center position, just like the kind of the basic stuff. And so they got really happy. I was seeing good results. I kind of figured out what essentially my approach was, and I still am, honestly, because I'll read something or I'll see another dog trainer. They're like, "Oh, well, I do it in this order," and I'm like, "Oh, well, shit, like that makes sense. Like,
Yep.
I should probably be doing that." Not to say what I was doing wasn't working, but if there's something that's going to work better for the dog that's in front of me, like that's what I'm going to try and do. You know?
Eh, Yeah. I mean, any critical thinking will change with new knowledge presented, right?
Mm,
And that's why we have to constantly evaluate our approach and look to other trainers, other systems. But at the end of the day, it's the dog, and just like it was with Harley, is going to tell you if it works or not. And if you're hiring a dog trainer, they better have a trained dog, man. And that's the bottom line. If I'm hiring a financial advisor,
right,
I want to see their bank account. Like there's certain aspects of like prove to me that you know what you're doing here.
right.
And
There's a
so it's,
proof of concept, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
like the proof is in the pudding, man. Like if you're trying to market yourself or something, then you better have evidence that you know what you're talking about.
for sure. So yeah, I mean, all my dogs are really good. Harley's really good. Teddy's Teddy's kind of like my guy right now. We're actually getting ready. We're gonna go to Mexico City on the 18th of next month, and we're gonna go do a French ring trial with him. Um,
Nice.
so he's going for his brevet. So it's entry level type stuff, but we're excited. I think he's gonna do wonderfully. If we lose points, I think it'll probably be because of me. I probably won't say something right or something like that. But he's doing really nice. And then the goal for him is to get his at least his first leg of his ring won by the end of the year. And then I'm gonna put a brevet on Hartley and then on Fozzie as well.
So what got you into doing the sport work? Now that's a totally different world, right?
It is.
Then
It
and
is.
so
And I'm admittedly I'm very new to it. Okay. I'm very new, learning a lot. I feel, um, yeah. So I'm still learning a lot. Well, what got me into it was, I'd go over and stay with Nate, hang out, and I went over to Jean Luc and Bethany's place. Hey, lay down, Papa.
And it
Couche.
says Nate says that Bethany is a French ring judge, right?
Yeah, I think I know she's in the judges program. I'm not sure if she's got like designated as a judge yet, but yeah. So what happened was we ended up going over there. We did some filming, and I saw them like it was actually on Nate's channel. He has like a brevet and ring one like videos for his YouTube, and we recorded them. I was there that day, and dude, I was just like so impressed. One with the turves, right? Because there was a bunch of turves working, and just by the sport. And so I was like, dude, I want to like learn how to do this stuff. And so started working on it. It's been real tough here where I'm at in South Texas. Like there's a club maybe 2.5 hours away from me, maybe three, somewhere around there, depending on traffic. But there's a lot of inconsistencies with clubs sometimes, right? You know,
Yeah, with every sport too. Now, Freebird wants to know how old are these competition dogs? Four. Teddy's four.
Teddy will be 4 in March 14th of this year.
Okay, so it'll be right before his or right after his birthday.
Yep, right after his
Um,
birthday.
little Rocco puppy. Shout out to Jan or Juan. Okay,
It's a soft J. Yawn. Yoggy.
Jan. Yeah. Well, and so why French ring? Just because you knew Bethany and Nate, and or are you
Yes.
interested in doing IGP or PSA or Mondio or anything else?
So initially, I was interested in IGP, right? So there was a club up in San Antonio. I went and checked it out. It was super cool. Um, but honestly, like my life was just super busy. I couldn't make it up there to the club. Didn't feel comfortable doing it by myself, whatever. And then I started learning more about like French ring, and I was like, dude, that's it for me, right? So I like the the relationship between the decoy and the dog in French ring.
Okay.
I love that the decoy is like escaping the dog. I love that you lose points because distance and time, like all that stuff is super cool to me. I think that it's amazing the amount of control that's placed on these dogs. Where, like for instance, you ask a dog to out in French ring, when I say his name, he's outing. When I tell him out, he's downing, so I don't lose my points.
Do you know what's
Whereas,
crazy? I just put in French ring, and guess what comes up?
what's that?
Your site.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So just FYI.
Oh yeah, it's super cool. Well, yeah, so I do tell people because I'm trying to start a club here in Corpus. I already have a club name and everything, and so I'm very confident in my ability to teach the obedience portions of it. I can do some beginner type bite work, and beginner decoy stuff. So it's really good. I've had to kind of like figure it out. So like another thing I have to do is I catch my own dog. I know a lot of people are against that, but I'll go and I'll put my dog in the downstay and do my thing, go out, come back in, blah blah blah, agitate the dog, go back out, send them in on a bite, and I'll work them, and then I out them, and then rinse and repeat.
So
You
you can
know,
work your dog by yourself, or do you have
Yep.
somebody else handling him? Okay.
No, I work them by myself. Ideally, I would love to have another decoy there to catch my dog and put the appropriate picture. But where I'm at, I don't have that option. Sometimes I'll get a random person that is willing to help me out, and they'll help me with the defensive handler. So if you're not familiar with that exercise, what'll happen is like I'll come up, we'll shake hands, my dog will be in the heel position. We say bye. You walk behind me. My dog rotates around me and keeps watching you. We walk. You come up. You hit me on my back. My dog bites you. Um, so I'll get someone to help me with that from time to time because there's not since it's not a long distance, I'm not worried about them catching my dog incorrectly. Um, I just tell them to keep moving.
And
And but
you're the one catching the dog?
not in that situation. I catch my dog on the face attack.
Okay.
So on the face attack, we put our dog in the down, take a step out, and then the decoy will come up, agitate the dog, try and get him to break the down, go back out. I believe it's 40 meters, and then you give them the command to go in for the bite. They go in. Depending on which level you're going, whether it's brevet all the way up to ring three, will depend on how much the decoy tries to like esquive the dog. You know what I mean? So as you go up, the decoy's trying harder to escape the dog.
Okay. I mean, all this stuff is, I don't do any bite works myself or any sport at all.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe someday in my future I will, but I enjoy speaking about it. I've been to plenty of events, right? And so, and I think that it's just phenomenal to see. And I think that that's what, especially the defensive handler, right? That's what people post these viral videos of this dog, and that's what they're like, dude, I dream of that dog, right? It's something that
Right,
people definitely are impressed by, and it is absolutely impressive because you have to have, and the dog has understanding, and you have the utmost control of that animal as well.
for sure. And so talking about like French ring, like I said, I'm by no means an expert in it, right? Very, very new. Um, but a couple exercises that super impressed me. One is obviously the defensive handler, like that's super impressive to me. The second one is object guard,
Oh,
right?
that's what. Okay, yeah, object guard is what I love. That dude.
Yeah, so the basket, someone comes in, boom, he bites them, comes back to the basket, right? So I think that's super cool. And then also, man, I forget what it's called. Oh man. Anyways, so the bottom line is in ring three, okay, you send your dog out on a face attack, right? And within 3 meters, I believe, you have to call your dog off of the bite. Like that is like so impressive to me when dogs can do that. You know what I mean? I think it's stop attack. I think it's what they call it. But like that's what 9 feet. Like the dog is right there. You know, like coming at you. They've had already 37 meters of run time, and they're ready. And you call them off of the bite, so they don't bite the decoy and they come back.
Yep, and it just shows the amount of control.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And same thing with PSA has that. I think IGP has an element of that as well. I just don't think now. Does French ring do tracking at all?
no,
Okay,
that would
that's the
just
one
be
thing I love about
protection,
IGP.
obedience, and agility. Um, and something else I really like about French ring is it's super like functional. And what I mean by that is in some of the other sports, like it's about how pretty and happy your dog looks, right? As well as them being able to complete the exercise. Like French ring, it's like functionality. Did your dog stay? Did your dog bite? So, for instance, biting is a big thing, right? A lot of people will be like, "Oh, your dog didn't have a full grip." So, yes, we encourage full grips on the bite, but if the dog bites with one tooth, it's a bite. Like it
Okay,
counts. If he's
okay,
on there for 15 seconds, he's good. You know. Whereas other sports, they got to have that nice full grip, things like that. And then another thing is like where they can bite. So in French ring, they can bite anywhere. So
no
it's not
shit.
just yeah,
Nate says some dogs are called off mid-air with their mouths already open. They'll make contact, but won't bite. It's insanely impressive, dude. I bet. I've seen it where they've called off the dog from a bite, and the crowd goes crazy. It's just because it's. I mean, and it just shows that awareness that that animal has. That even though they are full on, and some of these dogs love to bite, dude, and sometimes the behavior becomes a reward. And
right.
so
What? Go ahead.
I said when you can call them off, that just speaks to your relationship, and that's what we were talking about earlier about the relationship development. It shows you how strong the relationship is, because now you've called them out of the behavior that is the ultimate reward for them.
Yeah, 100%. Because so like even so, what happens is, we start the dog off. You do like bite rags, all that stuff. Eventually, you go to sleeves. Well, eventually they get to the suit. You can't slip the suit, right? So when you're able to slip the sleeve, the dog's able to get the reward, take it with them, right? Once they go to the suit, they have to enjoy biting. That has to be the reward, because you're not slipping your pants. I've seen people put their jacket on and slip their jacket, right? Um, but predominantly ring dogs or leg dogs, although they can bite anywhere. So it's just one of those things. Like they really do enjoy that bite. Like that's the reward. So like when I work my outs, because outs are so important, one of the things I'll do is I'll have the sleeve. Um, they're biting it. I have them out. I'll kick the sleeve, and then I'll let them get the reward again, right? Or the same thing with when I'm in the suit. We're in the suit. They're biting. They out nicely. I give them another bite. They out nicely. I give them another bite. That sort of thing. They just really enjoy it. Like so, Teddy didn't spend hardly any time on the sleeve. So I started him biting a lot later than what people traditionally do, because we just kind of got kind of behind on that. But um, so he got to the suit really quick, and he absolutely loves it. Like he's able to. I do things that you usually don't do in French ring, so I'll use like the can curtain from PSA and stuff like that to kind of just work on distractions and like he's fine. I know a lot of people say dogs, or excuse me, French ring dogs are nervy. I mean, he's solid.
Well, and then when you do, you can't slip the suit. You give them something to bite. The dog knows that they will be fulfilled, right? And so then it becomes stronger to them to let go if you don't, because they're still getting that enjoyment of biting eventually. It's just like,
Hmm.
nope, don't bite on that, bite on this. And that's what
Right.
I like, especially with my dogs that I work with, they become possessive over items, right? As a pet dog trainer, same concept. It's like give them something, take it away, give it back to them, take it away. Don't just always take stuff away and put it up. Show the dog, like, look, if you give this to me, you're going to get it back. It's not going to be something that goes away that you feel like you need to possess this thing. Otherwise, I'm going to be the guy that's always taking shit away. Like start that conversation with that dog. And so it makes sense to me that even though you can't slip the suit, that we would give them an outlet eventually for them to express that enjoyment of biting.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, and that's like kind of like later in the stage. So initially, depending on your dog, we're doing the quite the opposite. Like we're building frustration so that they'll want to bite and they'll want to drive. And then you kind of just have to balance that. And obviously, that's where like more experienced trainers, more experienced decoys are able to provide you that guidance and stuff like that. Um, I actually had Jean Luc and Bethany come down for a seminar here in South Texas, just because I had three dogs that I wanted worked, and I was like, dude, like it's gonna like be a crazy amount of money for me to take all three of my dogs over there. I'll just bring them down for a seminar. I'll get to work on three dogs. I'll pay for my spots. People pay for their spots. We help grow the sport here in South Texas a little bit, and so it worked a lot. I learned so much that during that session. I'm actually going to be going up to Couche, um, over to Chad Hunter's place in April. He's doing a decoy um, seminar,
Okay.
and he's going to use my dog to help train the decoys. So I'm super excited about that because that'll give me another opportunity to learn some more about the sport, about decoying, things like that. So I'm super excited.
Have you ever taken any seminars on decoying?
Just one with with Jean-Luc, just learning a little bit when he came down. And then a friend of mine, Carlos Geddes, he's the one that worked a lot with Teddy to get him where he's at. He would kind of coach me, teach me what to be doing, how to do it, things like that. So like I'm fairly confident on catching dogs safely, 100%. Um, but I'm not that guy that's going to be hopping over dogs. Like you'll see some of these French ring decoys like literally jumping over dogs to like escape. It's crazy.
So the job of the decoy is to like trick the dog.
To make the dog miss.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that's once again that's like one of the things that I really like about the sport, right? Because in the other sports, like you literally feed the sleeve to them, right? Like you're
Yeah.
like feeding it to them, right? You're like doing that. In this one, like you're trying to stop the dog from getting the bite, right? And when I talked earlier, when I said you lose points in meters and seconds, what I mean by that is in meters, how far the decoy is able to get away from you, right? You'll lose points, and then seconds, as far as how quickly you can out the dog. So if it takes a while to out the dog, you're losing points. If the decoy is able to get away from the dog, then you're losing points, right? So
Now, when the dog bites on the decoy, is a decoy like jerking him off, or not jerking him off? Probably say like
it's
like.
not that kind of sport. we,
You
we don't
said
we don't do
French
that.
ring. I don't know. Just kidding.
Right.
Is a dog like, or is a decoy like moving his hand, like, or moving his arm, trying to, push the dog off of him or anything, or is it just like trying to? I mean, and you say legs, so I'm just trying to think. So the dog's running to him. It's like Olay, and the dog has to stay on target.
Right.
Now, once the dog bites, is a decoy like squirming, like jerking the leg or anything to try to get the dog to
Right, for
loose.
sure.
I know they have clatter sticks, right? So that they'll
Yeah.
be doing that.
So
Um,
yeah, so when I work the dog, right? And this is from my experience. Obviously, more experienced decoys are gonna, tell you different, right? Because we have different levels of decoys in French ring, right? You have level 1, level 2, and level 3, and you
okay,
have to get certified. Like you
okay,
have to take a physical fitness test, you have to take a written test, and you have to take a skills test where you you have to catch dogs, and then there's a jury that judges you. There'll be two other decoys that are level 2 and level 3, and then it'll be a judge, right? So it's like super serious. But what I do is I'll plant my clatter stick. So I'm there, the dog's coming at me. I'll plant the clatter stick into the ground, and the dog will come this way, and he'll have to go through the clatter stick while I kick my leg out. And then once he gets on the leg, then yeah, I'm moving left and right, backwards. I'm applying pressure. Usually you do like an X over the back. Okay, you want to make sure that you stay away from the head and face. I'll hit right next to on my leg, right next to his face, but not obviously hitting him. But
right,
yeah, so you can't like you can't pull him off the bite,
okay.
right? Like that's illegal for a decoy to do. But you can apply pressure to try and get him to let go. So, there's different things. People will scoop the legs. Um,
No shit. Okay.
People will come over like the top of the dog. Like it's amazing. Like when you see like these level 3 decoys, like and a level 3 or a ring 3 dog, like go at it. Like it is like the coolest thing ever. Like I really wish that French ring was more popular in the U.S. Because it is a badass sport. Like when you start looking at like the decoys, like dodging like dogs. Like if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, right? Like same thing with the dogs. It's crazy.
I want to see if I can get somebody on here. So let me. I'm just gonna. I don't know who this trainer is, and I hope it's. But it looks like he's legit. So this is handler, defense of the handler, right there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so he's
So putting pressure. So going over the top of a dog like that is super tough. So right there, if what, yep. So what the decoy will
Oh
do
wow.
a lot of times is when he was right there, if that dog were to look away, the decoy would run away, right? And then so
Right.
obviously the dog is gonna go and bite, but it keeps him. That's the face attack, but right there it keeps him super engaged.
Is it like a bark and hold? Like in
No,
okay.
no. So they actually discourage barking a little bit because that's just a waste of energy. So French Ring has probably one of the longest programs in any of the dog sports.
Yeah, but how that guy was kicking his leg like that, that's what I'm talking about. I love that.
Yeah.
Can
Oh,
you
for
now
sure.
this dog's wearing an e-collar. Can you do an e-collar in the ring?
Nope. So
Or
not
is it
when
practice?
they're naked
Okay.
when they actually compete.
Okay.
Um, but when we train, that's it. But play that part where he kicked his leg out again.
Let me see. This was defensive of the handler.
Yeah.
And then dog's watching him, person's walking forward. He's got an
Yep.
educator on, touches the dog. Now, when he puts his hands down here too,
It's to put pressure.
but I can see like if you don't know, if your dog doesn't know what he's doing, so
Oh
he's trying to actually get that dog to bite on his hand. That dog's like full on going to the leg.
yeah, right there. So right there, he would run away if the dog looked another direction, and he gave him a
Ah,
rebite right there. Good. Now notice the way he's biting too on the leg. His eyes are out, so that's
right.
like the right way to bite.
Yeah, because then you can kick your other leg right over on the or
Right. Well, it could hurt the dog if they bite with their eyes in.
no shit. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why, like, when the dog kicks out, um, or not the dog, when the decoy kicks his leg out, that's called their prey leg, right? So
Here,
you
let's
don't
see.
want them chasing the prey leg, you want them chasing the stationary leg. So right there,
That was stationary leg.
yep, that's the stationary leg, and that's right because once again, you don't want to lose meters. And if he chases the prey leg,
There's a prey leg right there.
yep,
Because
yep, he went for the prey leg right there.
okay,
Then he can get some distance.
fascinating, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, this
it's
stuff.
it's super cool, man. It's like, and I've barely even scratched the surface on this, um, but it's amazing to me.
That's a
Um,
highlight video. One of the best French ring decoys. Yeah, I'd searched like level 3 decoy. That's what I searched for, Nate. So that's
yeah,
what the first video that popped out. And it's, I mean, so I mean, I just think about that. You need to have coordination. You need to know which leg is which. Um, I mean, there's so many things to this, and it seems like a pretty big commitment. All these dog sports. Um, the link I posted. Where'd you post the link at, Nate? I don't know where you posted it. Send it to me or text it to me if you can, Nate, and I'll pull it up, um, so I can show what you want to show. But it's also this is a commitment, man, and people don't realize, excuse me, how much a commitment getting into these sports is. Like you're traveling all over the place, you're spending all your time training these dogs, all this money going to these events, equipment, bite suit, um, and
Three
I mean
reasons why your
it
dog's not
is a
they're not
commitment.
focused.
Yeah, I got it right here. Nate just texted it to me. Oh, okay, it's cool. Let me see if I can share this one. I can. Just 1 second. This one I think is from 2015 that he sent me. And paste. All right, so this is what Nate just sent me. Technology is so cool, man.
oh for sure.
We can have these conversations. So let's see here. Oh, it's a 14-minute video. So let me scroll through here. Looks like pictures. Was that a call off? Oh, and then he's going after.
Yeah, that's face attack right there. See, he esquived him.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
And I see the marks on the field. Is that I know that when they do the object guard, that they have that circle.
Yep. Lay down.
There's a call off. Looks like. Oh, there's a skeeve. Start it from the beginning. Don't play the whole. Just don't play the whole thing. Okay. So I'm starting from the beginning per instructions from Nate. Okay, here we go. Skeeve. Oh, whoa, goodness. So when he bites in the chest, is that dang? Wow, dude, this is incredible. So he's trying to get the dog not to bite him.
Yep.
And the longer that he goes without biting him, the more you get deducted, and the further he gets away from the dog. Is that the meters and seconds you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wild, man.
So I just texted you my dog biting.
Okay.
And me doing a decoying for him.
So here's what you just sent me.
Teddy.
Oh, reload page. Dang it, it's not doing it. Hold on. For some reason here.
Couche.
Okay, here we go. Share this tab instead.
All right, yeah, 44 days of trial.
So I'm going to zoom in here. And this is Harley, it looks like. Is this Harley? Oh, this is Teddy. Oh, okay. So you got the cans, you got the tambourine and the clatter sticks there.
So trying to get him to break his down. Usually they're not going to get that close to him.
Okay.
Right there. So he got the right leg. Now I put some pressure and move with him a little bit.
I can see that he's a turv.
Yeah.
So why'd you get the turv instead of a Mal?
So I saw them over at John Luke and Bethany's. I saw them working, and I was just like super impressed with them. And I was like, man, like they're gorgeous. And yeah, I don't know. I just really like them. Honestly, they're my favorite breed. After that, it's my German Shepherd.
Cool, man. I like their coats.
Yeah.
You know, super cool.
So
fascinating stuff. Okay, here we go. Nate's been commenting. He's a black belt in the bite suit. No kidding, dude. No kidding. I mean, you could tell that guy with the video that I posted with Nate, like that guy. I mean, it was incredible. It was
it's amazing. It's amazing seeing these guys.
How fast they go and how they have to keep their wits about about them the whole time.
Cool. And that's why there's certification process, man. And like there's physical requirements. Like look
how
at this.
Fast he is. I mean, he's a freaking athlete.
Yeah. Like so those are ring 3 dogs right there. Like that pressure right there. Like you wouldn't be doing that on a brevet or on a ring 1 dog.
Okay. This is like all everything comes out.
Yeah.
Now, if he bites on the chest versus the leg, is that anything deducted, or it's just what if the dog in the arms? Everything is okay. It counts as a bite. Okay.
Yep. Everything is good.
He's 20 in that video. It's probably been in a bite since he's probably 10.
Who is this, Nate?
Yeah, I want to talk to this guy if I can. You got me going here, man.
Yeah.
And then that was a call off?
Yeah.
Looks like.
Right there, there's another one.
So the call off the dog just needs to not bite.
Yeah.
They can. Axel, he's from France.
Oh.
Okay. French ring, where it came from. Whoa. Here's an object guard.
Yep.
You got the object. Okay. This is actually fun, dude. This is Axel Villain Legend. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is the stuff that I, even with my pet dogs, like people always want me to teach their dog how to play fetch. And I'm like, well, dogs, you have to teach them how to play fetch, but you don't have to teach them how to play keep away. And so we play this game where I get an object and then I'll guard the object. The dog guards the object and I act like they're big and bad. And then, yeah, the dog, it's scary when a dog targets the chest. Absolutely, man, because what's right above the chest? Right on the face. And I've had some of these dogs that I didn't know about. I had a dog run up to me and pop. I was like, they didn't tell me about this dog's behavior. And I was like, okay, just like that, man. This is fascinating, dude. I hope you guys are enjoying this in the audience watching this stuff. So even if the dog's on it, like what is, so if the guy grabs it, is the dog supposed to bite him?
Yep.
Okay.
And so you usually teach like a certain distance, right?
Right there, the dog should have bit him. Okay.
Right. So the reason why is because all the other decoys that probably tried to grab it were super active. So that'll be a hole in some dog's game essentially. Is if you just walk up nice and slow and grab it, they're like, oh, okay. Because they're so used to the decoy coming in hot trying to grab it.
And just touching it. Look at that. And the dog's not doing anything. The dog should be nailing him right now.
Yep, you should have.
Okay. I wonder if you get any points if the decoy can touch the object.
Nope. Not you. I was telling my dog.
So object guard is based on the rings around the object. Nate, we're gonna have to do a French ring, dude. Like I've done PSA, and I got Jonathan Katz coming on, who's got several level 3 on PSA, and I've talked to a lot of PSA guys. I've talked to a lot of IGP. I've talked to some Mondio people. I think this might be my favorite part is this object guard. I remember watching this old school video of this dog doing the object guard, and it was unbelievable. For the object guard, it's based on the ring around the object. The closer the decoy is to the object when the dog bites, the more points they get. Okay. Bethany, yeah, get me Bethany. Or I mean, talk to Bethany and John Luke too. If both of them would like, I would love to chat with them about this stuff. This is fascinating. It just shows you a different world, man. Like this is a huge world. Thank you, Nate. I'll talk to her for you. She's insanely good trainer, knows everything about French ring. Fantastic. Yeah, I would love to do a conversation like this with her. So you're learning this stuff. You're getting into French ring. Are you doing classes? Are you what are you more one-on-one? Do you like to go to people's houses? Do you like them to come to you? Are you specializing in sports? Are you more gearing your training towards that, or behavioral obedience, modification? What's up?
Right. So for my business perspective, what I do mainly is like pet dogs, right? Just
that's where the money's at.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I'll do some B mods. It kind of depends on what it is. If I feel something's out of my scope, then I'm really honest with the customer, the client, or whatever, and just I'll refer them out to someone else. Luckily, I haven't had any tough cases where I've had to do that, but yeah. And then as far as like for a personal basis, yeah, I'm diving real heavy into French ring. I have like 3 or 4 trials this year that I'm trying to get to. We're actually going to go to one in Indiana. I'm going to go up and stay with Nate for a week or two later this summer, and we're going to go check out a trial. I'll take one of my dogs, and yeah, we're going to do our thing. As far as like what I'm doing with French ring stuff, I read the rule book, and I had that seminar when John Luke and Bethany came down, and then when I have questions, like I just give them a call or shoot them a text about something. I will go check out a club every once in a while when it's available, but honestly, finding decoys are super tough, and French ring just isn't very popular here in Texas. There's There's one club that's consistent.
Nate says make some content.
I
Well, and
will.
it's I mean it makes sense because it's nuanced, it's niched,
Hmm.
and it sounds like once you get these level 2 and level 3 decoys, they're pretty much in demand, man, for these events.
Oh yeah.
Right, because then they start to be just like everybody knows this Axel guy, and I mean he's impressive. I don't even know him, and I love him. Like he's like this is somebody that becomes like almost a rock star, and just like Bart Bellin handled my dogs, and I take that as a badge of pride. Like it's something that when you have luminaries in the industry, I think that I wonder what the numbers are in French ring because I would assume, I mean it's regional. Is there a place that's really heavy with French ring here in the United States? Do you know, or
So no, not that I know of. I know that there's a couple clubs in California. Um, I know the most winningest club is Chad Hunter's club. Like they have the most ring three dogs. Like you know, it's kind of like the place to be. You know.
Ring Association upcoming events? Riverside, that's up in California, West
Yep.
Coast. Um, so yeah, I mean, let me see here. Board of directors, club lists. Let's see. Maybe from the club list here. I mean, it's okay. There's Washington Puget Sound here in Kingston. Kingston's out an island out there. Man, this is small.
It is, and I'll tell you, some of those clubs are paper clubs.
Meaning that they're not producing dogs. They're not really working the dogs. It's yeah. Look at that, you guys. I've gone through all of them.
Yep. And so
Yeah.
there's to have a club, you need three members,
Okay.
right? And so you look at a club, or you think of a club, and you're like, oh, you'll have like 15 people, 20 people, whatever. Some of these clubs don't. Some it's three people. So for instance, so if anyone here in Corpus is looking or watching this or watches this, I'm looking for two more people so we can make our club. All right, it's gonna be Third Coast String Club. So
Dude,
I need
I
two more.
like it. I can see the draw in it, but I also see why. I mean, why it's not so popular. Where you got PSA. What do you think of PSA? Have you been to any of the PSA events or anything? Or are you
I haven't been exposed enough to have like a good opinion of it. You know what I
okay?
mean? My friend that helped decoy Teddy for me for a little while, Carlos, his dog has the PDC. His dog's like badass. His dog's name is Easy. So and Carlos is a really good decoy. So if you're in California, you should check him out. Um,
He
but
says
yeah,
Nate says it's the hardest. Now, do you need to have a particular bred dog? Like, do you need to have like a Belgium, French, or German breed dog to compete in French ring, or is it open to any dogs?
so from my understanding, it's open to any dogs. You'll see tons of Maos. Obviously, you'll see them in all the protection sports. Some German Shepherds, Turves.
Do they have to be purebred? I think maybe that might be.
It might
I
be a
mean, it's
question.
because
Um,
I know that that's with IGP, and like they have
now,
to have some type
Shay,
of lineage, right?
yeah, because I have to like send in the. I just went to get his scorebook for Teddy, and I had to send in a whole bunch of stuff for him.
Okay. So it is regimented in the fact that there are
Well,
requirements not just for the handler, the decoy,
Shay,
and the dog, which is, I mean, is fantastic because it just speaks to a pinnacle of expectations. But it's also that's why I think PSA is so popular is because you can come in with a mutt, essentially you
right?
come in with a pit bull, you can come in with anything, and I don't think that PSA has object guard. I'll have to ask Jonathan when I talk to him. I know that they have the escort, which is kind of like the guardian of the handler. No, escort is escorting the I don't know what I'm talking about, but Yep, French ring does require kennel club recognized breeds. Freebird says fellow Juan that he would love to come and talk ring for hours. He's in Southern California. Cool.
So Juan Hidalgo goes and trains with Bethany and John Luke.
Okay, cool. I know Juan is a fellow Napopo GM as well. So,
Yeah. So is Bethany.
oh, Bethany is too. Cool.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about that too, because I believe in the system. It's a great system, but just like you said, it's something. And I love Bart and Michael. Like I'm good with everybody. I'm a pet dog trainer, and I've had some stuff come up this year where I'm traveling. I can't do any classes, and so and I speak with Bart. I spoke with him probably an hour and a half the other day, and it's such a wonderful. And I bet he'll see this. Like they watch these live streams, they share them, and I'm a huge fan of all my mentors, and that's what I think that we need is just to acknowledge. Like even my mentor Tony Anchetta from Keeler, I know him. I've learned from so many people, not just on these live streams, but just in person. I'm always learning too. Um, just IGP serves as a breed standard test for German Shepherd, and people don't realize that was a breed standard test. French ring is a breed standard test for the Malinois. Okay, dude, Nate coming back on, bro. I mean, we're already gonna do that, but we need to get into this because I mean, it's so cool, man, to see the passion and what people have thought about and how old is and Boosteron too. Just kidding.
So we actually have a friend of mine has a booster on that is doing French ring, trying it, and I think Tim Welch. I think he had a booster on that did French ring and did like extremely well.
Yeah, Boosterons are no joke, man. I like those dogs. They're cool, but they're no joke. I mean, and that's a French dog too. I mean, Boosteron. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate. Same with you, bro. Nate's one of the good ones. So, pet dogs, and you're going to be doing. Um, do you do classes? Did you say that or?
Yeah, so I do private lessons and I offer group classes. I do board and trains on a case by case basis. I try and avoid board and trains, honestly. I think that they're going to get more out of either the group or the private just for the relationship development, the handling skills, and just I think they're going to be better off that way. But yeah, that's the way I do it. Usually, I do for group classes. I hold them every 2 weeks, on a weekend, and
Okay.
then the private lessons they just kind of fill up in my schedule.
Okay. And then what do you see? What is probably, I mean, just like when you first started training, right? The jumping up on people, learning the basic commands, of course, potty training for younger dogs,
hmm
leash manners. Is that typically what you see nowadays with your pet dog people?
For sure, and then obviously the running out the door, right?
Yeah, bolting.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Most people they're like, I just want a good dog, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now tell me what a good dog is, right? Because my idea of a good dog may be different than your idea of a good dog. And so one of the things I really stress to the families I work with is like, look, I'm not here to train your dog to be my dog. Like, I'm not like here to make another Teddy or another Harley or Fozzie or whatever the case may be. It's whatever dog fits best into your family, integrates into your home, and does the things that make your life like good, right? Like makes it to where you can have a dog and enjoy having that dog instead of it being a burden. Um, so a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'm like, well, we do this, blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, oh, well, I said, look, I said, we don't got to do it that way. I said, I'm going to tell you what my opinion is and how I would teach it, right? I'm going to tell you here, right? So if you ever wanted to compete or you wanted to do something with it, but if you're like, hey, I don't need my dog to come when called to a sit front. I just want them near me. All right, cool. Then that's what we're going to work. It's what you want. So I think that's one of the things that, I see other dog trainers kind of struggle with is like they want their dog to have that beautiful sit front, that beautiful focused heel. They want to have this and that. For me, it's like Cool. If you want that, we can get that. I got it. But if you just want, your dog not to pull you across the sidewalk, we got that too. If you just want your dog to come hang out when you call them, great. So I kind of tailor it to whatever is right for that family.
Smart. And that's at the bottom. The bottom line is that people want a cool dog, and
Hmm.
and that's what I ask them too. Is that what does that mean to you? They want to be able to take them to camping. They want to be able to walk them down the street, be nice. Um, and sometimes they'll watch my dog, one of my dogs that I have pretty good high obedience on, and they watch me work them. And sometimes I see their eyes light up, and they're like, "I want that." Right. And so, what do you say to people that? What do you tell them as far as expectations are concerned about having a Teddy or a Harley? What do you start the conversation? Because I tell them we can make that happen, but it's a pretty big commitment.
Right. So I tell them about my training sessions. I say, all right, cool. Like, you want Teddy? I'm like, well, I've had Teddy since he's 8 weeks, and he is going to be 4. And yeah, I mean, we train as much as we can. Obviously, just like any profession, right? Dog trainers don't get time to train their own dogs sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But I said it's gonna take work. Like, it's not gonna happen. It's like saying, well, I want to be a professional athlete. Cool. All right. I guess you're gonna be eating right, sleeping early, working out, working harder and longer than anyone else. Like, it takes, once again, it takes a level of commitment. Like, these dogs, they're not. It doesn't just happen, right? And I'll tell you, in fact, my dog, um, I've had people comment before. Yeah, for sure, setting up expectations is super important. But I had people comment before about Teddy, and tell me Teddy wasn't ever going to really be able to bite, you know. And so, but he's good. And the reason why I bring that up is because it took work to get him there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these people, they'll go and they're like, "Oh, I want that dog," but and like you're saying, they don't want to put in that effort, right? It takes so much to be able. Wrong. It takes so much to get the dogs there. So we're preparing for his trial. This is probably the most I've trained him since he was a puppy, honestly. Um, every night
Well,
we're training 15, 20 minutes a night. If I can train them twice a day, I will. But, just with work, and I just really can't. But, you know,
so you have a full time gig as well as the dog training.
I do. I do have a full-time gig. I'm a super busy guy right now. I got a full-time gig. I
Do you
have,
ever see yourself being a full time dog trainer? Is that a
oh,
goal of
absolutely.
yours? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's gonna happen. So I started off dog training, right, and did my thing, and it was kind of a jobby, right? You know what I mean? Like,
A
it
hobby
was,
and a
yeah,
job together,
yeah,
right?
and it was kind of cool, make some extra cash here and there, and I was like, all right. And then last year, I'd say probably the beginning of the year, so 2024, I was like, you know what? I said I'm gonna go all in on this. Like, I'm actually gonna put effort into building a business. So, I kind of get in my feelings a little bit when people are like, "Oh, you have a little side hustle." I'm like, "No, I don't. I have a business. Like, it's not a side hustle anymore. It's a business, and it's
Okay.
built right." Um, and so by the end of this year, the way things are going, it should be the full time gig. But once again, 5 kids, 4 dogs.
You got a big life, bro.
Yeah,
And
it's
people don't realize, like, with a business, a new venture, I compare it to a dock and a ship. Like, you're on a dock at your work now, and we want to get that ship close enough to that dock so you can hop in and sail away without getting wet, right? And so that's what you're working on now, is
yeah,
getting that ship closer and closer, working on the business, not just in the business. If there's any way that I can help you, I'm here for you, bro. You got my cell, and we can
I
talk
appreciate
business, because I definitely I'm successful, and I've been doing this full time since 2007, so almost 20 years here in Seattle. And it's all about the clients, dude. It's all about the clients that you attract and how to keep those clients, but also the different revenue streams that can open up based on the different services that you can provide. Um, but yeah, I stay away from the board and trains. I just charge a crazy amount. And
I
uh,
that
you
hasn't
know,
worked.
yeah, that's what sucks is that they're like, okay, and you're like, okay, just should have done it 3 times as much.
Right.
In fact, I got a dog coming to me in June. It's a $20,000 dog, right? And so they're paying me $20,000 to train this dog, and I should have said 28,000,
Right.
but
Right.
I will do them a good job. But just like you said, like this isn't my dog, and what I do when I do these board and trains is I do an integration process, and these people are actually down in LA, and so I'll be flying down and staying with them for a few days. And that's another thing that I do is I'll fly places. I charge anywhere from $2,500 a day to go to on site to work with them and their dogs. But people have it, and if you can provide value to them, it's going to be worth it, because a good dog, having a cool dog that you can trust and understand, what's that worth, and some people just have, don't let Sergio fool you. Some people just have this bank that I hope to have someday, is be able to throw out. You're crushing the business side. It blows my way. Still holds his other job, dude. He's almost there, man. I just saw his beautiful new baby and 5 kids and a wife and five dogs. No, 6 dogs, right? Because you still have the calf, right? So 1, 2, yeah.
Yeah. So I got 4 that live with me. I got some over with the ex-wife, and
Ah, okay.
it's a lot going on.
Dang.
But yeah, like business wise, I am blessed, right? And things are going extremely well, and maybe a little bit of it is fear. Um, you know, but I do have like certain things going on. I'm filming my own course right now.
Okay.
I got my own app now. Um, so like there's a lot of stuff going on really well for us. I'm booked out for like a couple weeks, that sort of stuff. But once again, like I just want to make sure that it's reliable and repeatable. You know,
Right. Well, and I think that that's also the marine in you too. It's
yeah,
just providing a quality. It's a nice website. I got a link to his website in the comments I posted before, or somewhere in there. And you're on Instagram. You're doing the videos. You got your obedience. Let's see here. What else do these click on? Oh, look at that. Who's that?
that's Harley.
No kidding, man. You even got the video, the pictures of dogs with dust coming off them. What?
Yeah,
And you got a colorful poodle over here, dude.
that's Luca.
And then is this your doodle here, or who's
No,
this?
no, that's Neek's. That's hers actually. That's her poodle. I didn't have the doodle. She's a puppy still. So when I
Okay.
took these pictures, we didn't have her yet.
Yeah, man. It looks like you got videos, events, everything, man. The website's looking good. Um, dude, you're gonna kill it, bro. You're gonna kill it, because the industry needs this. The industry needs people like you, that are honest, and that have trained dogs themselves, that are family oriented, family men, right? That's primarily who we're working with. I mean, I tell you though, like 85% of my clients, I'm working with the female of the household primarily. So
Yep.
I did like a marketing plan, and that's the key, is just working on the business, not just in the business. And
Hmm.
sometimes fear can be our biggest motivator, dude. You know, the comfort causes a lot of problems, man, but fear keeps you going, and it's always good to have a little bit of that. And one of my don't be afraid to fail, dude. We got to fail. One of my favorite quotes is fail harder, right? So don't let
Right.
failure get you down. Let failure drive you forward more.
Yeah. So I'm feeling like real strong. I'll be honest, right? So I just got a bookkeeper. All right. And she specializes in the dog training industry, and so we're looking at things, and we're just going to make sure that everything is It's really good, but I do feel like I'm super close. Like
Okay.
the and then with this new app that I got going and this course, it's gonna be good.
I have a Sherry Boyer is I don't know if you know her about. Do you know Sherry Boyer?
Mm,
She's a business builder in the dog world. There's a couple of them that I recommend, but I've done some live streams with as well, and they're just out there, man. It's definitely achievable. And you're in Corpus Christi, Texas.
mhm.
What's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they wanted to work with you? Or
I mean, honestly, they man, anyway, anything on social media, they can get a hold of me. I get my numbers all over the internet. So it's, 361-446-5639. So even if you just want to text me and say, what's up, talk dogs, you want to teach me something, like I'm all about it. Like it's really, I think about progression, self development, and eventually like being able to bring the best to the community you serve, right? So, whatever families I work with, I know, just give me a second.
we're wrapping
Sorry.
up, dog. No
Yeah,
worries. You
yeah,
did good.
yeah, she did good. But
Well,
yeah, so I mean, that's really it. I just want to, continue to grow, professionally. And what I mean by that is like my skill set. So I am looking at doing the popo this upcoming year, just so I
okay.
can learn a little bit more about it. Um, because once again, like I read stuff, but it's so hard to get materials, right?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
recommend the Silver School, you guys. There's another one coming up in October. It's going to be in Missouri.
Hmm.
And there's nothing like just getting there and getting immersed. It's hard, dude, because it's a lot of stuff. And the tests are a pain in the ass. But I highly, highly recommend it. And maybe I'll be there. Who knows? I don't know. I think I have trips planned, but I've already been to three of the new ones that they do, and then I'd learned from Barton Michael and my gold school, my silver schools, and I've taken a couple of those. And just always learn, man. That's the key. Is there's no finish line here. We're always learning, and if we're not learning from other mentors and other teachers, and we're learning from the dogs that we're working with.
100%.
Awesome, brother. Well, let's say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the studio. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Bye,
So,
everybody.
yep, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Oh, and by the way, I put up. And this is Teresa Cameron. She's definitely somebody to know.
Hey,
I
nice
love
to
her.
meet you. Thanks.
Yeah, she's a very. She used to work in advertisement, and she's in Arkansas, and just a heart of gold, man. She's one of my favorite people on the face of the earth. Love you, Teresa. So thank you all. And then, oh yeah, I said I put up a link to my Patreon page if you guys like these interviews and consider supporting me financially. And we also have some exclusive content that's only available for paid members on my Patreon page. Consider joining me there. And everybody have a good evening. Thanks for watching.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.